Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, what's going on, mister?
Hi, Bryant. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Here we go.
Nice to be back here in the alternate recording location.
We've had a ball already, and we're just getting started.
Oh, we need to figure out how we can start recording, like an hour before while we're doing setup and so on, so that we can catch the bloopers and create a little blooper reel, like the little incident where, Charlotte broke her glass. But
throw me under the bus.
Wow, that's right out there.
I don't think it's throwing you under the bus. I'm just like relating the truth. And I guess maybe I people know we have a guest because that's what we do on the second Wednesday, it's actually Monday, but this will be released on Wednesday.
Right.
But we have a guest tonight, and we are at the brewery. So good stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's been, as they say at the beginning of a UFC fight or boxing match, or I don't know if they do it in WWE because I don't watch it. Here we go. It's been fun already. And Charlotte, we are thrilled that you are here. We know that many people that are listening today will know, if they don't know you personally, they will certainly know your name. That's for sure with all of our local listeners. And for those of you who are wondering who this beautiful lady is, Charlotte Rouse, she is, just kind of a part of a local power couple, I guess. Just came up with that. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like there was a momentary pause where you're struggling for it, but you got it, and I think you nailed it.
And Charlotte is a local real estate agent. Mm-hmm. And I know that part of your life very well. I've participated in it. Charlotte was the one who actually sold my wife and I our house. Thank you for that. Yes. And the brewery. Yes. And the brewery. And any number of other things that folks have talked to me about. And so I have a good sense for you in that regard. And by the way, while we're introducing Charlotte, let me also say that Charlotte was, I don't know if this was the first selection. Somehow I doubt it, but maybe it was, as the #1 real estate agent for her Caldwell Banker Elite branch, and is also part of the top 3% of agents worldwide.
Yep.
Thank
you.
Outstanding.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, to be #1 in a very aggressive market, which is what's going on here. And I will talk about some of it tonight. Some of your characteristics that I've noticed that I believe contribute to making you successful.
Okay.
But we are thrilled that you're here. Thank you for being a part of our podcast. And welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm really intrigued to see where this dance goes.
By intrigued, do you mean scared?
No, not scared. I'm just kind of curious to see, because I see a little evil glint in his eye, so I don't know how far he's going to go down this rabbit hole, but we're
gonna go. We're gonna go all over the place. We are gonna go all over the place. But if you don't mind, if you would start out, what has been your journey to where you're at in life today? You've had some twists and turns. Mm-hmm. You've lived in a variety of places. Mm-hmm. Please tell us about your, where you're from originally.
Okay.
I would say that, but I like that story better coming from you. And then kind of how you ended up here, because, and just for the record, extremely, extremely successful. And that's why it's fun to talk to somebody like this, because we all can glean stuff from that, and that's the objective of for tonight. So tell
Yeah.
Woo!
If you don't walk away with something that you can use in your life to help increase your level of success after listening to this tonight, you didn't pay attention. So pay attention.
There you go.
Okay. I was born and raised in Sweden. My mother was Dutch. My father was Swedish.
So I didn't know that. There we go.
Yep. So with that, I spent all my summers in Holland. So I know a couple of languages.
Okay. Yeah,
And-
just a few.
Yeah, and with that also had the influence of travel and very engaging family. My father was in the police force. My mom was a teacher. And as I was sharing with Brian a little while ago, was very influenced by what I would call spiritual or people who are very in touch with energies and the environment and intuition from early on. And when I was 22, 21, I sailed in Greece with a bunch of people, and one of the folks that were there. So in Sweden, you can travel a lot easier than you do here. People go to Europe, and very early on you get to travel and explore because just the trains and planes and all that, it's just much easier and you have a lot more freedom. And so you get exposed more and you get a little bit more independent, number one. And number two, so I was in Greece with 8 girls, and we were island hopping, and we ran into some people who were sailing, who were Swedish, and some of them lived in California. They asked me to come and visit, so I did.
Now, I'm sorry, sailing. So sailing means something to me. I'm not sure it means the same thing to you.
Probably not the same thing.
Okay, so
No, sailboat.
okay,
The Greek
so,
islands.
So you were on the Greek islands. You were vacationing with your girlfriends,
Yes.
and you saw people sailing sailboats.
Yeah, so we were introduced. So, the islands in Greece, Mykonos, Paros, Ios, all of those islands in Europe. Travel is inexpensive that time. You can go and you hang out and go meet people. You can be 8 girls to one room, and you just go and spend time and experience a sense of freedom. It's very safe. As American, we're a little bit more protective of our kids. I'm a mom. I'm protective too, but it was very different when I grew up.
Happy belated Mother's Day, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I ran into a group of people that were Swedish who traveled doing the same thing, a group of guys, and some of them were Swedish, and we started talking. And long story short, I was invited to come and visit California, Hillsborough specifically in California. So I did, and I fell in love with the country and felt like it. I followed my intuition. I knew I had to stay. So that's kind of how it started.
So Brian, I have to tell you something about this. Already I'm seeing some stuff. So you're on a vacation.
Yeah.
You meet some Americans, live in California. There's these interactions that are happening, and all of a sudden she's invited to California to go visit. She's not just like, oh, California's great, we live there. It's, why don't you come and visit? That says something about your ability to connect with people. So
Well, thank you. And I think it's also, I think in Europe people travel a lot more, but my whole family's traveled. My mom was born and raised in Sweden. She went, born and raised in Holland. She went and lived in Sweden. Her sister went and lived in Canada. So my whole family is pretty much all over. Australia, New Zealand, all over the place. So the comfort zone of traveling is there. And when I moved to California, when I stayed there and visited, I just followed my intuition. There was something there that I was very drawn to. I couldn't figure out what it was, but I was very drawn to it. And it could have been the weather. It could be Americans have something that's very unique. Americans have it's like they encourage other people to be the best they can be, and they appreciate that in other people, which I think is very fantastic.
wow.
They can, and every job I've ever had, pretty much somebody else saw something in me and said, Charlotte, have you ever thought? And so it's been through relationship and interactions and people seeing something and me going, well, maybe. I mean, I'm in sales now. I did sales when I was a young kid. I used to sell subscriptions when I was a kid to get money for Christmas gifts. I used to go to a bunch of older people's houses and sell subscription, and they would invite me in. I get strawberries and would tell me stories, and I would be in heaven because I would get attention and they would get attention, and it was this mutual interaction. In sales, it's the same thing. It's connecting with people and hearing them and seeing them as people. Because that's all we want to do, right? We want to be seen.
Absolutely. That's a cool story. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, having experiences like that as a child, right? You know, I think you want to repeat those, right? So if they're happy experiences as a child, as you grow older, you want to have similar experiences. So that makes sense why you're doing what you're doing.
And I don't even think you know that you do it when you're a kid. You just do it because it makes you feel good. And I think this is a tough part for teenagers or people trying to figure out what they're going to do when they grow up, when they get out of college. What I'm going to do for the rest of my life. What are the classes I'm going to pick? What my vocation going to be? Because if you haven't experienced anything, you don't know what you're good at. That's a problem. It's really important to be able to try different things because you never know when it hits that spot and you realize it's flowing. And you don't know why it's flowing because you're supposed to be there.
I love that.
Yeah,
I do.
So how do you feel about the idea that we sometimes as a society have or has that you go to college, you pick a career path, and that's where you stay. You know, what if you're in that and you don't like it? Like, for an example, there's a statistic out there about lawyers, and that like 80% of them, if they knew then what they know now, would have done something else. That's a big number. So, what's your advice for people, and what are your thoughts about that mentality we have as a society?
Well, so this is the pros and cons. American citizen, and I have both an American passport and a Swedish passport. And every time I go back to Sweden, there's things I love about Sweden. And I'm here. I'm very proud to be American. I love America. There's something that we can do better in America, and that is most people work for retirement. They don't live in the present. They work to save to retire.
Yeah.
In Europe, I have friends.
That's an American thing, right?
Oh,
yeah, it's the rest of the world didn't like that.
In Europe, I have friends who have had 5 different careers. And in Sweden, for an example, if you go through a recession, the state will retrain you into a new vocation.
Wow.
Subsidize where you're being trained so you can get another job. Even when you go recession, they will give you tax refunds so you can do improvements on your house. It will help the vendors or contractors to get more job, and then you get tax benefits. So they kind of keep that wheel, that cog going. I feel here people are terrified of leaving because you have seniority. If you leave, you're going to lose that place in that corporation, and you never really get to find out what your passion is because you live a little bit on fear versus in your heart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I that's remarkable, and I have not heard anybody tell that story quite like that before. I mean, I obviously know a good bit about American culture, and have some experience with European culture as well, but not the same as yours.
Yeah, it's interesting though that's come up, right? Because that same subject came up on the podcast with George Bruno about the whole retirement mentality being an American thing, and the rest of the world doesn't do it that way. And we were talking about the Japanese term. I think it's called ikigai, and it's all about doing something that you enjoy doing, and you do it for the rest of your life, and you don't focus on when am I going to stop doing this so I can retire and do nothing. Because unfortunately, I mean, there's a lot of people that retire and they are very active and they do great things and they contribute in ways to other people's lives, and then there's folks I know that just sit on the couch and wither away and die.
Yeah, and I think that you never know what you're good at until you try. And I think I always say to people going through hardship, and if it's through your spirituality, through God, through energy, whatever it is, I said, you don't know what that full picture looks like. You only have a little small piece. So sometimes there's got to be a little faith in there so you step back to let things unfold. Because when you work from fear, you're always contracted. And when you let it flow, it kind of unfolds, and you never know how the petals, how they kind of go out, right? Suddenly you go, I had no idea about that shit, and that came my way because I didn't block it, because this is how I thought I had to be, or what I had to do.
Yeah. Got to be open to receive.
That's right. I always say, if you don't ask, you can't receive.
Yeah, I'm feeling better already. I really am. This is I'm ready to receive, baby. Come on. No, actually, there are two things that I know about you that I don't think I've ever told you.
Okay.
I know more than that, but there are two that I would like you to comment on.
Okay.
That I think have to do with. Actually, there's a third, but that I'll hold that one till later. One is, I can tell you from experience that you have this very unusual ability to very quickly connect with people. So I want to know where that comes from, because that is something that I think to some degree you're born with, but there's also can be something in your environment. There's something that you were taught or brought in your environment that enabled that. So that's thing number one. And thing number two, and this is really key, your responsiveness. That is also unusual, the degree to which you're responsive, because don't ever send an email to Charlotte saying that you have an ounce of interest in real estate, because as soon as you do that,
You better start packing your stuff.
you're
moving.
email, right? Your email inbox will be flooded immediately, 5 minutes, with all the stuff that's coming on the market and that you ought to be looking at that falls into your criteria. It's amazing, and that actually is quite remarkable, because I know when we were looking for a house, all of a sudden we had all these options. I've worked with many real estate agents over the years, none like you. So those are two things. Where did you get your ability to connect, and what is it about responsiveness that also strikes you?
Well, after I got to California, and after a couple of paths in different direction, I got introduced to high-tech sales through somebody who I worked in a startup. So I've done 17 years of software sales. I've done 6 startups. So I was at the company who started online videos. First video was Victoria's Secret. And
you still have it?
No, but
Kevin wants to watch it.
Cluster servers and all that stuff. And then I was with Good Technology, which was the company that actually brought email to phones.
Wow.
So wow. I've been around some.
This is all out in California.
All out
right,
in California.
Okay. All right.
So,
that makes sense.
And so I've seen a lot of change. I've been very fortunate and lucky to being around a lot of creative people. And when you're in a startup environment, you're around salespeople. I did HR for a while, and I actually got into sales by a salesperson came and said to me, "Charlotte, you need to do sales." I'm like, "Sales? I didn't even think about it." And he goes, "You need to do sales." And I probably harassed the inside salesperson for 3 months to get a job with him, and in the first month I broke their records.
Really?
And it was it's the same thing, phone calls, inside sales, just slamming and calling, but it's all about, I enjoy talking to people, and I enjoy when I can see people, feel people smile on the phone, because it makes me feel good. Does that make sense?
There you go.
Yep.
There you go, right there. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Can you hear a smile? You absolutely can.
Yes.
Yeah, because playfulness is, everybody has a child within, and you can just talk to somebody and just poke, and you go, that made me feel good, and I'm going to laugh, and I'm going to laugh back at you. And that changes everything. It's on an energetic level, too. When you laugh or you smile, it just expands out. So
Did you say on an angelic level? Is that what you...
No, energetic.
Energetic. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
So I think when you bring joy into your life, it changes everything you do. It just changes everything.
Yep.
And I think it just, because you have an option, like even if you walk down the street, and just smile to people, they'll light up because they did not expect that smile, and that makes them feel good. Such a small little things, the ripple effect. And I think I was lucky enough that I wake up happy. I literally I won't say I wake up naughty, but I wake up and my mind goes all the time. So I'm like, so I enjoy that a lot, and I love the battling. One of the things I love too in Sweden, which I feel very fortunate about, is that there's, by the way, 52% of the women's business, 52% of the businesses in Sweden are women-run, women-owned.
Wow.
And when we grow up, it's very common to have male friends. It's not unusual. So you get used to that bantering, that comfort zone of bantering with both sexes. And I enjoy that a lot. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but I hang out a lot with the guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. No, I've totally seen it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's because it's more free-flowing, and it's more, there's no barriers. It's more like, I'm there, and I got it, blah, blah, blah. And I think when you can have that too, it makes a big difference, because there's not these layers of how people should interpret you or look at you or observe you. That makes sense?
It does. So now the responsiveness piece. Where does that come from? And did you know you were that way?
No, but I've heard it. And I probably harassed my husband, because my husband's like, oh my Charlotte, I just answered you 5 minutes ago.
I did not hear what she said. Did you hear what she said? I did not.
No. Was that like a little demonic voice?
Yes.
What was that? I just answered you 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, no. He says sometimes to me, Charlotte, you did not give me time to answer.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah, I could actually see that. I could see that with you. Man, you ask him a question, and he's got to think about it for at least 15 seconds. Good Lord.
Yeah. Now, I think that comes from being in corporate America. In corporate America, in sales, you're normally 3 or 4 women among 30 guys. It's a very competitive environment. And I always say, why wait tomorrow with what you can do today? So I like to get things off my platter, and I like to connect. If you ask me something, I like to get that done, because I want you to know that I've heard you. So important to me. Because as long as you know that I've heard you, you don't mind waiting until tomorrow, as long as you know you've been heard. And I think it's like anything in business. And that's why I went into real estate. I did software sales. We had moved back to Fredericksburg, and we were trying to buy our own house. And I was struggling with not getting responses from our realtor. And for me, I'd rather have a no, but no, it's a no, than no response at all.
Right.
Yep.
And so I think in general in life, that's kind of what works. And I kind of built that up a little bit, maybe.
I know there's more to this story, Brian.
No, there's some cool etiquette lessons in that, though, because it's just, while being prompt, I think, is productive, right, and being responsive to folks, especially, when you're working in a sales environment, being responsive to people matters.
Yeah.
But I think there's some courtesy in there, too. And, when somebody, asks a question of you, I think it's courteous to respond. And even if you don't have an answer right then, just let them know that you've received the question and you're working on an answer for them.
And I agree with you. And also there's something else. Like my office manager, I always tell him, call, text, email. Call, text, email. Because not everybody picks up the phone, everybody check their email, and not everybody look at their text message. And for me,
that dude just rolled in here with a flip phone. He ain't texting anybody.
I used to text with a flip phone.
It's not easy, though.
Come on.
Yeah. Take you like 20 minutes to say hello.
No, I mean, I don't know. I think it probably my own impatience for new things, and I don't see it. Maybe you see it, but the way my brain works is like in some things, like even. Yeah.
So this is why it works. And on the receiving end, having been on the receiving end, it works because it makes the people on the other end of your interactions feel like they're the only person that you're focused on.
Okay.
And that is important, because if they send you an email or text or a phone call, even if you don't answer, you get back as soon as you can. And so they're like, wow, man, I wonder if she has any other clients, because she's so
clearly she wasn't doing anything.
But then you find out she has a lot of other clients.
Right, and she's making time to respond to you that fast.
Right.
That's cool.
And that is cool. That's the point there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I appreciate you seeing that.
And are you?
So was Kevin a difficult client?
No.
Okay.
No, he's actually very, very easy. Both him and Paula are lovely.
All right. Ooh, doggy. I didn't pay her for
Yeah, I was
the
gonna say,
call.
what'd that cost you?
Right. I just completely lost my train of thought. So I had
about
a
that.
really good question.
I do that to you all the time. I apologize.
Wait, it had to do with, I got it back. So how and to what degree are you pushing this stuff down to your girls?
Ooh, that's a great question.
That's probably the dichotomy in life. So if you backstep a little bit.
Knowing that they're going to be watching this, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm very lucky. I'm married to somebody who is very opposite from me. Now, don't get me wrong. He's very attentive. He's probably extremely loyal. Want to make sure that you're always taken care of. Wonderful husband, incredible dad, and but never pushes like certain things. Like I'm always like, meaning that I'm much more aggressive in that way to make things happen. Like he always like, give them time, let them think about it, and I'm like, gotta get this done now. So it's an interesting balance for the both of us. And I think I catch the girls looking at us. And so I see them come ask me about certain things, and kids are smart, right? And they don't
parent
ask.
shopping.
Right.
Exactly.
And then go to dad for other things.
Right.
Right. And I see, my oldest one is very much like my husband. The youngest one is me, and I go like, oh, this is payback.
I hope everybody heard that. I hope everybody. This is payback. That's what she said.
Yep.
You spoke very quietly.
Yeah,
That's why I
yeah.
said that again.
Yeah, it's interesting because part of me is very hard in some ways because I don't like kids that act spoiled, but at the same time I want to give my kids everything that they would want, meaning if they want lessons, if they want not like superficial things, but everything. But at the same time, I want them to know that they're very lucky to have these things. I don't want them to take it for granted. It's a very fine balance. It's extremely fine balance. And so sometimes we get stuck in it a little bit because I will push back and I said, I had to, and they just look at me, I don't know what that means, Mom, because it's not their reality. But at the same time, I think like today at lunchtime, I made them lunch and cooking for them, and meanwhile I'm on the phone and I'm doing stuff, talking to a client, and I notice that they are watching me, so I know through osmosis they're picking up.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that was my takeaway. Right, as soon as you ask the question, Kevin, it's not so much what you say. That's important. It doesn't always sink in. No. They watch. Yes. They see what you're doing. They see your behavior, and and I don't know if we specifically called this out that Jeff Rouse is her husband,
right?
Who has been a guest on the podcast. We didn't have him on video because we weren't doing that yet.
Right.
But two high performing parents. And, these kids, while they, might not hear everything, they watch and they see what you're doing. And I have no doubt that the two of you are setting an incredible example for them, and they're picking up on it.
Well, we try. That's the thing, try. And I think today's kids, it's hard because they get so much influence through, what is it they're watching now? TikTok and whatever that crap is that they're watching. And I'm going like, and... But
you can learn stuff on here. That's what my wife said. She started watching TikTok the other day when my daughters introduced her to it, and so.
No, but I think as a parents, it's a fine line on. They have to get to, I wasn't like this like a kid, right? You fumble, and when you're young, you're ignorant, you're selfish, and because you don't know differently. It's just this part of being a baby bird, right? You're trying to figure out where you want to be, and you don't even know how ignorant you are. I always just say when you're 20, you think you know it all, you know nothing. When you're 30, you think you know it all, you know absolutely nothing. The same thing with the 40. And I think, but that's also because what we think is important change.
Right. Yep.
And
no doubt.
And that's the same thing with the kids, right? They got to go through their rite of passage, so to speak. But one of the things that both of them do sports, and they know that mom is high performing, working hard. They also know, but it's like with dad, it's kind of funny because he's so low key about things. Like when the guy came to interview, and he's literally one of the daughters says, "They have nothing better to write about." It's just like you're like, thank you.
3 Olympic gold medals is not enough.
Children.
Right.
Life without filters. They say what they say whatever they're thinking.
I know. It's just like, yeah, because it's not what they're interested in, right?
Right.
But I think the best thing you can do for your kids, and like my mom was a very hardworking mom. I learned a lot from her with that, and independence I've learned from her. And I think it's really important that your kids got to find their own path. That's the thing, right? They can't be you. And I see it, both of them. They're like, sometimes tell me, Mom, I'm not you. I don't like those things. And I'm like, thinking to myself, how can you not like him? Then I realized probably when I was your age, I didn't like him either.
Right.
So, like an example I give you, we went to Sweden, and I got a place in Sweden, right? So we go into the King's Castle, which is 2 streets away from my place, and I'm so excited because I'm showing all these fantastic rooms with all this furniture and all this history and all that stuff. After 20 minutes, the kids go, "Mom, how much furniture do we have to look at?" And they, so they didn't get any of that. So I'm like, okay, I get it. So I took him to the amusement park that I went to as a kid. Best day ever.
Best day ever.
Back to the basics, right?
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
All right, here's a question. I don't know why I thought of this, but it's a good one. So Bryant and I both, I would say pay close attention to people who are successful.
Okay.
And a lot of times, people who are very successful, you ask them what it is about them and their characteristics and their skill set that makes them successful. And they'll tell you, or they'll tell you what they think it is, but they're not right because they don't really truly understand what it is about them from the outside perspective looking in. And some people can. It's very, very rare, honestly. It is rare for folks who are really successful to be able to tell you what it is about them. That's my question to you.
Are you setting me up?
I'm going to, yes,
this is a test.
This is a test.
Pretty much is.
This is a test, yeah. The test is, what is it about you? What would you say makes you as successful as you are? What is it about your personality? What is it about your characteristics? What is it about you? What is it about you? Whatever pops to your mind that you think makes you successful.
Everybody knows 4 or 5 realtors. That's just the way it is. Everybody does. I think people come back to you because they feel that you're a trusted source. You know what you're doing. I think also, I think it has a lot to do with, if I look at mine, 99% of my business is referral based now from people. They're coming back to me and say, I felt taken care of. And I think it's, and this is when you might say I'm wrong. I think it is because I always try, I always tell my office manager, I want people to feel I'm their trusted source, and I want them to feel like that I'm guiding them along, that they're taken care of. It's really important to me. I want to take care of them like I would like somebody else to take care of my mom. If my mom was in a situation that they needed to be taken care of. It's a big decision. And having trust with somebody, for me, and that's the same thing with me, I'm extremely loyal. Means a lot to me, loyalty. So I'm thinking that's might be a trigger with other people too. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm thinking.
All right, I place you. Are you ready?
No.
I place. I place you in the unusually aware of yourself category.
Okay.
Because I think you're right. I think that you've said some things that other people in your shoes probably would not have said. And I can't agree with you more on the things. People do feel special when they're being dealt with by you for their real estate.
Interacted with.
There we go. Thank you.
Dealt with. She's gonna deal with you, buddy.
Holy friggin' moly!
Yeah, those 2 honks at your house are going to be 5.
Please do it. Please do it next time you drive by. Yes, I want to know.
That way he'll know it's you, because everybody else honks twice.
Oh Lord. Yeah, that was. I think you're right. I think you're kind of spot on with that. Okay. I really do. I'm impressed.
All right, so here's a question for you on the heels of that one. Of all the things that you've accomplished in your life, what is the single most significant accomplishment that you can think of?
Good question.
At least he's not singing.
I can. No.
I know that's a difficult question.
She's churning.
No, it's not. I think it's probably, without saying anything, is that I think living in California and the life I had, I felt like I got exposed to things that a lot of people did not get exposed to, and got to know people a lot of people did not get exposed to without giving names.
What on earth does that mean? What? What? That was no way. You can't.
That was a. You can ask me more about that when we're not recording. Question.
That's right.
Or answer.
Huh? Wow. That had many layers of something on it that ain't ever, I guess, coming off. Okay. And we'll just.
That's an offliner.
Okay. An offliner. Nice. I like it. That's a cool question, though. Think about that. Folks that are listening, what is the most significant thing that you consider an accomplishment in your life? What is it? And I know the list is long for people, but if you had to hone in on just one, what is it? Just a thought to ponder.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take that away too, that part was something that comes to mind, because I always go back and go like, I've done some crazy and interesting things in my life. And when you start talking about them, you're like, oh my God, checkbox, checkbox and checkbox. But I mean, also, being a mom late in life, really important, loving more than you ever loved anything. And I think seeing your child and kind of, there's something about that parent relationship with a child that just takes you to another level, and trying to be a good parent. I don't know if that kind of cliche, but I think that's probably one of the things, and trying to be a really present mom. I catch myself all the time when I'm multitasking, and I catch myself, I'm like, okay, am I really in tune? So I think the gift of being a parent is probably the biggest thing ever.
So this is a whole new direction. There's got to be some wisdom in here somewhere, right?
Yeah, clearly we haven't had any of that yet. No, we've had plenty of it.
I was venturing out onto thin ice, and I was hoping there's some wisdom.
Bambi.
Right?
Bambi. Now there's a new nickname.
Oh, Lord.
Hi, I'm Brian Halstead, and I'm here with Bambi.
Oh, my goodness gracious. How did you meet Jeff and capture his heart? Because obviously you did. And, yeah, how did that whole thing... And what is the wisdom in that?
We obviously met in California.
Was he at Stanford at the time?
He went back. He was going back for his 3rd Olympics.
Right.
And I had just separated. He had just separated. We both were previously married.
Okay.
And it's like one of those things, when you're not looking, that's when you find. We were set up on a blind date, and actually I didn't even know it was a date.
Somebody did a really good job.
Did you know who you were meeting with?
No.
You didn't? Okay. All right.
It's not a blind date.
Right.
You had no damn idea, Dave.
Right.
I had moved into an apartment, and I had an extra parking spot, and there was like a bunch of guys from the Olympics team, which I didn't know, that were living in my apartment complex, and they needed an additional parking spot, so they came and knocked on my door, and I'm like, well, if you put together my stereo, you can use my parking spot. So that's what they did, and we became really friendly. And I used to own a restaurant many moons ago, so I enjoy cooking.
I did not know that. Wow. Holy moly, all kind of layers are coming off this onion. Right.
And so, I like cooking and they like eating, so we became friends. And one day they said, hey, why don't you come over to our apartment and have dinner? I'm like, okay.
Was it, so he had roommates, in other words. It wasn't just Jeff, it was Jeff and others.
Jeff didn't live there.
Oh, so this wasn't Jeff.
No, this was 3 or 4. They were like 21, 22 years old, like,
okay.
And
you were what, 24?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
And
sorry, I didn't mean to ask that, yeah.
So they just come over for dinner, and I guess they had told Jeff about me and the apartment, and they said, like, sure, you got to meet this girl. I think she's single, and she's got a really cool stereo.
We know because we put it together.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's
so
all about the stereo.
That's right, baby. And so I just went over and had dinner, and we're like the older, only mature people sitting at the table. They're all like 21, 22, very nice kids. And I'm like, I got to get back to my PowerPoint presentations, because I'm like, and he's like, can I walk you to your door? And I'm like, I'm down the hall.
But yes.
Yes, you may.
And well, then he was very sweet, and he walked me down the hall, and I literally, nothing really happened. But
did you know who each other was at that point? Or?
No, it was just Charlotte and Jeff. I had
yeah.
And I remember texting the guy later, going, "Who's that dude that walked me to the door?"
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, he's a really nice guy." That's what he said.
That was it.
That was it.
All right.
Yeah. And that kind of unfolded from there. And unless you're, it's like in any sport. Unless you're into the sport, you might not know all the details. And but I think that's probably the best gift, when you don't have any expectations and things just unfold. And yeah, it was all good.
Are you a swimmer, or were you a swimmer? No. Hell no.
No. I just remember looking at him thinking, because he had some Hawaiian shirt, and I'm like, there's a lot of extra fabric right here. That guy's in good shape. He was like, good shape. But
yeah, now we're talking.
No, but as I said, I think it was. And he obviously born and raised here, so I think we dated, and I think when he completed, they went down to LA to do some of the final trials, and then when he was done with that, it's like almost like he got into engaging with me and dating like 150%. He was so, when you practice,
you bet.
It's like, you're tapering, you're not walking up the stairs, you're sleeping, it's so focused, right? And I was busy working. But anyway, he told me right off the bat, I just want you to know, I'm moving back to Fredericksburg. That's where my family is, and they're really important to me. So I said, okay, if it's that important to you.
And is your family here? Are they still over yonder?
No. My mom came and lived in California for a while, but she now lives 3 houses down from me.
Sweetness and light.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Feisty Dutch lady.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, there you have it. Charlotte Rouse. The lady, the legend. Yeah. I'm not trying to sign off there. I'm just,
So Charlotte, understanding what Kevin and I intend to put out, the wisdom of the ages to our listeners and viewers. If there was one thing that you would just have to share with the folks that are listening and watching before we wrap this up for the evening, what would that one thing be?
Well, it depends if it's really has to do with real estate or just as a person. With real estate is, put in the hard work, because that's how you learn. And Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Most importantly is that I shouldn't say nothing comes for free, but you grow. It's like a caterpillar. You got to get out of your cocoon. And the only way to do that is kind of bursting through things. So you got to learn to try things and realize you don't have to fit in the mold for how other people see you be. Follow your intuition, follow your gut, and know that you might not see the full picture of what you have inside of you, your potential. And I think it's really important to realize that, especially for today's youth, there's jobs out there that when we grew up didn't exist. So there's potential out there for your creativity to unfold,
right,
and be the best you can be.
There's a lot of stuff out there that didn't exist when we grew up.
That's right. Right?
Like, electricity. I mean, was that cool when you first saw that? Just kidding. I don't know where I got that from.
Holy moly.
No, but it's true, right? There's like, we are so stuck into like these lanes we're supposed to fit in, right? And no one knows. I was supposed to go into banking because I had an economics degree, but the thing is, you don't know what you're good at until you try. You didn't know that you were going to do this, right?
No,
right?
No. I mean, I had known for a few years that I wanted to do a podcast.
Right.
Didn't know that it was going to be Kevin that I was partnering with to do this, and it was
just needed a handsome fella.
It was only.
You need another beard?
Yeah, we needed some eye candy for the camera.
I'll take that.
Yeah, but
yes,
but I found Kevin instead.
Scratch the Bambi eye candy.
Yeah, but
candy.
I found Kevin instead, so it's all good. And it was beer that brought us together, right? It's ultimately beer that has the three of us in this room right here.
That's
right?
True.
Beer is the connection.
There you go.
But you don't. It's like the domino effect. You truly don't know what's gonna, how that's only gonna fold, right?
That's right.
If you think about it, when you were 20, did you know what you were going to be good at?
Oh, hell no.
Right?
Oh my goodness. When I was 20, I was in college.
You know nothing.
Oh, I knew nothing.
So that's why also mentorships are really good, and internships.
I was just to kind of put this on all in context. I was an oceanography major. I was 20 years old. I was 1 year away from graduating with an oceanography degree, and I did graduate with an oceanography degree.
So who put that in your mind, or what made you go that route?
I didn't know what I wanted to do, and when I was in high school, I thought I was good at science, and I thought, oceanography, that's kind of science-y.
Nothing what mom and dad did? No.
Aren't you?
Oh, my father was
Aren't you from Wyoming?
Right. Yes. My father was a physicist.
So it wasn't exposure to the ocean that caused you to.
He wanted to get away from the lake. No, but I'm just saying. So you follow a certain path because that's what is around you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the ocean, and all it is in and on it. Yes, it's amazing. The ocean is amazing.
Yes, it is.
There's a whole bunch out there that we don't know about. I'm telling you.
That's true.
3/4 of Mother Earth is covered by water. We haven't even scratched the surface. There you go.
Yes, indeed.
You? Anything?
Well,
if you think
narrow that down a little bit. Anything about what?
No, but if we talked about, I know we talked about your podcast, but we talked about your previous job, right? So you see, how did you get into being in the police force?
So that was something that I always wanted to do. That was actually have kind of a case study about that. I call it, Plan A.
Okay.
And I intended to go into the Marine Corps out of high school because I wasn't old enough to be in law enforcement at that time, right? So went into the Marine Corps, wanted to get into law enforcement afterwards, and I did that. And I got to like year 14 in that career field and realized I wasn't having fun anymore. And what do you do then? And that's one of the reasons that drives my questions and curiosity about the societal norm of picking that career field and sticking with it for 20 years, 30 years, however long. I want from my own experience, I want people to understand that don't stay in something is just sucking the life out of you. because there's other things out there, and you have to be willing to go and explore those things.
But what do you think makes you want to go into the police for?
What made me?
Yeah. What was that triggering factor?
So for me, I think it was some early influences of friends of my parents that were in law enforcement, folks that I had a great deal of respect for and identified with, and I think that's
you had role models.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although I didn't consider them that necessarily at the time, or mentors, or but they were people that I respected, and I kind of got to see what they were doing, and I think that was the start of it.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting how we choose our path, and then you look back at why we did. There's always somebody there who's kind of put that little nugget in our head, right?
You betcha. And it's endlessly fascinating. People's lives, for me, are endlessly fascinating. Indeed.
Yeah, and and if people would be willing to maybe just sit back and pump the brakes a little bit and slow down, and just focus on, like you said earlier, enjoying the experience while you're here, living life today, and maximizing that that joy that you experience every day. It's not I'm going to work my ass off until I work here 30 years and then I get to the finish line and I don't have anything left.
Right.
And that I look back in the rearview mirror, and that whole 30 years was just torture. And then you were working forward to this retirement thing, and you get there and you're like, well, this is it. Yeah. Enjoy it along the way.
Yeah, find something that you're really good at, and that's what I'm saying. That's why internships are so important, or the willingness to figure out what makes you really passionate about something, and having mentors are so important. So that's great what you're doing right now, because you kind of make people think, right?
So I want to kind of bring it full circle all the way back to something that you said in the first few minutes of our discussion tonight, and that was living in the moment. You can get involved in all kind of things that you think are gonna, for the future, set you up to be at the point where you want to be. But the truth of the matter is, all we really ever have is right now in this moment. The past is gone. Nothing you can do about it. Can't take it back. Can't do anything. And the future never comes. It's never here.
Well, and I also think
free beer tomorrow.
Right. Free beer tomorrow. That's it. That's the perfect.
And
tomorrow
also,
never comes.
Yeah,
right.
Or people who have had a lot of success in their life, they go back to give to the community because they said, "What's my legacy? What have I done?"
Right.
I mean, I know I put some money in the bank. I know I done, but what have I? Who have I impacted? And what's my legacy? What will people remember me for? And I think that's also the important. That's why I'm saying small things. When you run in and you meet people every day, like even when you go shopping, say hi to the person you get coffee from, saying, "Hey, how's your day?"
Yeah.
They're going to look at you. It was good. How was yours? And they're going to feel good.
I keyed on that when you said that earlier, and I love that. I grew up watching, in a small town, South Georgia, watching people wave at one another. I remember my grandfather riding down the road with his hand on the top of the steering wheel, waving at every car he met.
I love that.
Whether he knew him or not. That's still fun to do. I do it just periodically now, and the population of this area, people, chances are you're not going to know them. But I like doing it for two reasons: because I think it's a fun gesture, right? It's a nice greeting, and also kind of messes with their heads a little bit. They're like, "Who's that?" I don't think I knew that person. Who and so they're thinking about it for a while. But yeah, try that. Just go down just randomly wave at people, and you can be energetic about it. You can just do the the little wave here. Or you can really go to town and wave to somebody, and they are just going to be thinking about that for the next 3 hours, wondering, who was that?
Who is that guy with the big long gray beard?
Right. Do I know him?
Right.
Yeah. Was that Santa Claus?
Right.
It's a little early for that.
Yep. Focus, your intention is really important. Yeah. And like even small things when you I was thinking about that when you see people and acknowledge people, it's just the people who normally never get acknowledged when you walk into the store, the greeters, the people filling up the produce, whatever is the small gesture that brings the big effects. And I always say, it's like the Buddhism too. You bring a gift. If that gift is not actually something that you can touch, it could be with recognition, or thank you, or how was your day? Just acknowledgement.
Amen.
Is it pretty big too?
Yeah. Amen.
Yes, indeed. All right. So what do we have to make sure that you say before we close this thing out? Any last thoughts?
Be happy, smile big, laugh hard, try to joke every day, and look people in the eye all the time and see who they are.
I like it.
All right. So that last one speaks to me, because one of the things that I've noticed in this conversation is you are really big on eye contact, which I think is cool. Some people are uncomfortable with that, but I noticed that was important to you. Yep. And that's cool that you said that.
Thank you. Important to me.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Hey, you're
It's been
welcome.
wonderful.
Thank you. Thank
It's been
you
a
for
great
sharing the
conversation.
information. And again, like I said a little earlier before we kick this thing off, if you didn't get something out of this, you weren't paying attention. I have no doubt. Good information. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. It's been wonderful. I knew it would be, and it was. And it was not dull.
Right. Only one glass was broken.
Right.
No people or animals were harmed during the filming of this podcast.
Only one glass, only a bottle and a half of wine. All is well.
And
all is well.
And no public. That's what she said.
Well,
Until right
we've got
now.
it now. We thought one of those was going to be in here, so thanks for not letting us forget.
Yep. Joy, baby, joy.
That's right. All right, so I think we're ready to close this thing out, right?
We are.
So I just have to remember which button to hit, but I got it. I'm locked
do,
on.
okay.
So thank you for being here, and everybody out there between this podcast and the next, make sure that you take time to enjoy the ride. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.